Hello everybody, GZTV, back with another video. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the NFL for week 2. We're going to be quickly recapping every game because the last week's episode was like 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to cut that down a little bit and maybe make each game like a minute worth of coverage. But anyways, let's get to the Thursday game. Some games are a little less interesting than others, it just depends. We're going to talk about the Chargers versus the Chiefs, obviously, because they were the first game of the week, given it was the Thursday game. Chiefs rallied past the Chargers by 3 in an early AFC West showdown. Obviously, they play twice a year, so we can look forward that down the line, and also another game this year between Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. It's always a great matchup. Two of the league's like best teams almost. Two of the game's bright young quarterbacks. These two are gonna have great matchups together. Some crazy storylines. But yeah, let's just get into the highlight performances. Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Patrick Mahomes played amazing, but he did enough to win. I think Justin Herbert played. Did he play better? I'm not really sure. Maybe Patrick Mahomes played better overall, but Justin Herbert threw an interception, so that kind of hurt him. Justin Herbert, 33 for 48, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Patrick Mahomes only had 235 yards off of 24 for 35, but the 2 interceptions really put him on top. Nothing special from the Chargers rushing-wise, but Kansas City, we had Clyde Edwards-Helaire having an amazing game, 8 carries for 74 yards. Receiving-wise, for the Chargers, we had an absent Keenan Allen, so Mike Williams had to take over 8 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown. It seemed like he was catching everything that was thrown to him, so that was good. Travis Kelce having a pretty good game, 5 receptions, 51 yards for how many times he got the ball. He played pretty good. I don't know. I don't really remember that game all that much. Let's move on to Sunday. We're going to talk about my Packers first, of course, because they're my favorite team. And that's, Bears-Packers. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers lean on Aaron Jones. They take care of the Bears by 17. Alan Lazard returning and making a couple plays. They're getting their money's worth out of Aaron Jones. He had a fantastic game. Jair Alexander getting a game-winning interception. Justin Fields was put in a box this game. Aaron Jones just again and again just taking over this game. And I don't think, Justin Fields, although he didn't get in the end zone, he still went for what he was able to pass, 7 for 11, 70 yards. He still had a pick, but it was at the end of the game when the deal was sealed, pretty much. 70 yards and a pick. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, he never fails to have at least a decent game against the Chicago Bears, and I think tonight he played a little more than decent for what he was given, and especially because Aaron Jones, the run attack this game was absolutely insane. But Aaron Rodgers, 19 for 25, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously the controversial Justin Fields missed touchdown is another focal point of this game. But then again, it'd still be a 10-point differential. A lot of calls on the Bears defense too. Maybe that's a factor. But the running, we weren't disappointed in the running game. David Montgomery comes out, 15 carries, 122 yards. The Iowa State running back, gotta have respect for him. Aaron Jones, he had 15 carries for 132 yards and a touchdown. So great games for both of those guys. And receiving, Amon-Ra is his brother on the lines, but Equanimeous St. Brown, I think he led the team last week, and I think he did it again. 2 receptions, 39 yards, obviously for 2 catches, 39 is a pretty good amount of yards. And then Sammy Watkins stepping up after a pretty rough first game, a quiet first game. He had 3 big receptions for 93 yards. So shout out to Sammy Watkins for stepping up even. He averaged 31 yards a catch. That's great. Even with a guy like Alan Lazard back in the game, he was still able to get it going. Jets and Browns, great game here. Joe Flacco rallies the Jets to a stunning 1-point comeback over the Browns. They were down by 13 with like a minute and a half left in the game. I mean, the Browns lose in Browns fashion, of course. Joe Flacco. I think I heard MMG call it. He was going to have a good game this week. 26 for 44, 307, 4 touchdowns. The Brown side of things, Jacoby Brissett I don't think he played terrible. He threw 22 for 27, 229 yards and a touchdown. He had a pick, but I don't know what happened there. I guess the clock management got a little bit ahead of them, but obviously Joe Flacco had the better game between the quarterbacks. And I'm really proud to say that my boy Breece Hall for the Jets had 7 carries for 50 yards. And, I mean, Nick Chubb had a good game. I mean, honestly, a great game. I don't know what I'm talking about. 17 carries, 87 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's so cool to see Breece Hall up there for the Jets. Receiving-wise, I mean, 2 pretty good receivers this game. Garrett Wilson, 8 catches, 102 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think Garrett Wilson scored like his first touchdown this week, I want to say. His first 2 touchdowns this week. And then Amari Cooper. A slow week 1, but he comes out this week, 9 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Let's hope he continues to play well. Because, yeah, I like Amari Cooper. I want to see him succeed. Looking at the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff throws 4 touchdown passes. The Lions beat the Commanders by 9. They waited till week 13 last year to win, and now they already have a win in week 2, so that's cool. Carson Wentz had a pretty decent game himself, 30 for 46. This was a good game, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Jared Goff went 20 for 34, 256 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Nothing too impressive on the rushing side for Washington, but Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great game. We'll talk about him on the receiving end. He had 2 carries for 68 yards. And then receiving, Curtis Samuel had a pretty good game, 7 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 receptions, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Buccaneers, Saints, obviously the Saints defense always gives Brady trouble, and we all obviously had the Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore beef continuing this week. But yeah, Tom Brady's temper flares as the Bucs snap a skid versus the Saints. They win by 10. Jameis Winston played terrible. I don't even want to talk about it that much. He went 25 for 40, and he had a touchdown. But I don't know. Tom Brady did not throw all that well, but he still ended up 18 for 34, 190 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm not really sure about that one. Running-wise, nothing special for Tampa Bay, just a bunch of grunge yards. But, shout out to Mark Ingram on the Saints. He had 10 carries for 60 yards, so that's a good game for him. Receiving-wise, Mike Evans came out, 3 receptions, 61 yards, got ejected, so that's still a good game on his part. And then the Saints, shout out to the Saints rookie out of Ohio State. We have Chris Olave going out for 5 receptions and 80 yards. Some rookies are showing out in the NFL this year, so that's always cool to see. Panthers-Giants, a pretty mid-game. But hey, Giants are 2-0 for the first time in 6 years. They beat the Panthers by 3, so that's a big thing. Ever since Eli Manning's been off the team, they haven't been able to do it, so there's that for you. Baker Mayfield, not a good game. In 14 pass completions, he had 145 yards and a touchdown, but he did not throw a good percentage. Danny Jones, he had 22 for 34 and a touchdown. I guess that's interesting. Rushing-wise, I don't think Saquon Barkley played all that good. Christian McCaffrey came out 15 carries, 102 yards. Saquon, he was all right. For Carolina, though, receiving-wise, 3 receptions and 43 yards for a touchdown for DJ Moore. While I think it's Raymond James, he had 5 catches for 51 yards. So, he was the one that kind of got it done for the Giants. Moving on to Patriots-Steelers, a pretty good game here, I would say. Not a high-scoring game, but yeah. Patriots rely on the defense to edge a TJ Wattless Steelers by 3. That's obviously a big thing on their Steelers defense to not have him, but good game for Mac Jones, I would say. 21 for 35, 252 and a touchdown. He had a pick, but Mitch Trubisky, on the other hand, he threw 21 for 33 and a touchdown, but other than that, nothing else really flattered me on the stat line. Rushing wise, Damian Harris, 15 carries, 71 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris, he did okay for the Steelers. Receiving wise, Steelers just didn't have that impressive of a game offensively. But on the other hand, for the Patriots, Nelson Aguilar, one of the most hated guys in franchise history for the Eagles, he had 6 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown, including one of the better catches we've seen all year. So congratulations to the Patriots on taking a Week 2 victory. I feel like there's a lot of 1-1 teams in this league. Jaguars and Colts, the Colts proved this game they are probably the worst team in the league, I'm going to be honest. At least one of them. Jags' home win streak versus the Colts reaches 8 with a 24-point shutout, which is actually interesting. I did not think that they had a streak like that. Usually there's a negative streak associated with the Jaguars. Matt Ryan, he came out and went 16 for 30 through 195 yards, but in pure Matt Ryan fashion, he had 3 picks. Trevor Lawrence, he only had 235 yards, but he went 25 for 30 and had 2 touchdowns, so that's a good game, an interception-less game for Trevor Lawrence. Jonathan Taylor came out for the Colts and had 9 carries for 54 yards. He didn't have a lot of yards, but for what he was given, and in a very offenseless game by the Colts, I think he played good. I wouldn't say, I don't think James Robinson had a great game, but this Dolan guy on the Colts, he had 5 catches for 79 yards, so that's something to look forward to moving on. And obviously for the Jaguars, one of the most overpaid receivers in the league, Christian Kirk, still having a good game, 6 catches, 78 yards, and 2 both of the passing touchdowns, so that's good. Next we have the Dolphins and Ravens, probably game of the year as of now. Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins rally from 21 down to beat the Ravens by 4. Insane. Are we serious? This was a great game. Tua Tagovailoa, 36 for 50, 469 yards and 6 touchdowns. He had 2 picks, but that's not to knock on him. They came back down 21. Lamar Jackson, I want to give him credit as well because he went 21 for 29, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he might have had a better passer rating. Yeah, he was like 10 away from having a perfect passer rating. So, yeah, he had a great game as well. But that receiver duo in Miami is just too much. Rushing wise, nothing really that impressive from the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson, though, he came out 9 carries, 119 yards and a touchdown. I think he had like a 70 yard touchdown. I don't remember. Receiving wise, this is insane. Tyreek Hill, 11 receptions, 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, and obviously Jalen Waddle had just as good of a game. Rashad Bateman for the Ravens, he had 4 catches, 108 yards and a touchdown. He had the 75-yard touchdown reception. And then we opened that game, of course, with a Devin Duvernay return touchdown. So just a great game of football. Falcons-Rams. Matthew Stafford and the Rams hold off the Falcons for a 4-point victory. Jalen Ramsey with the game-winning interception. And obviously, Falcons almost came back and pulled a reverse Uno card because usually they're the ones that came back on. So, Marcus Mariota, 17 for 26, 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he still threw 2 picks, so I'm not really sure about that one. Matthew Stafford, he came out 27 for 36, 272 and 3 touchdowns, had 2 picks as well, but that's Matthew Stafford. He's going to make risky throws. It's kind of characteristic of him. Nothing too crazy rushing-wise. Receiving-wise, Drake London's continuing to have a fantastic rookie campaign. Comes out, 8 receptions, 86 yards and a touchdown. He might be the truth for them. Cooper Kupp, not an amazing game, but he still had 11 receptions, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. I just think he could have done a little more for how many times he caught the ball. It was interesting, to say the least. Seahawks and Niners, oh boy. This sucks. Division matchup. Jimmy Garoppolo comes off the bench to lead the Niners past the Seahawks by 20, and obviously Trey Lance, season-ending injury. Oh, man. Whew. But, I mean, we saw how the Niners praised Jimmy Garoppolo compared to Trey Lance, so I don't know. Geno Smith, I mean, he threw 24 for 30, but other than that, I don't see anything too impressive with him. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, though, he came out 13 for 21, 154 yards and a touchdown, and he wasn't even in the full game, so I think that's kind of impressive. Rushing-wise, I didn't see anything too crazy. I mean, Jeff Wilson, 18 carries for 84 yards, but again, he carried the ball 18 times. Receiving-wise, you had Tyler Lockett, 9 receptions, 107 yards. He was pretty much their pass offense as it stood. Brandon Ayuk for the Niners, though, I mean, 5 catches, 63 yards. That's a hell of a game. I don't know where Deebo Samuel's been all season, but he's been pretty quiet. Cowboys and Bengals, this was a good game down to the wire. I mean, I can't believe Cooper rushing his first start, I think, in a while, or at least it might have even been in his career. He got a win against the AFC champions, so that's kind of good. Maher kick lifts Cooper Rush and the Cowboys over Joe Burrow and the Bengals by 3. So, yeah. Joe Burrow went 24 and 30 for 36 in a touchdown, but nothing too crazy about his game. Cooper Rush, on the other hand, 19 for 31, 235 yards and a touchdown. Just a lot. I mean, I'm not really going to talk about the rushing that much because there was just a lot of grunge yards between Ezekiel Elliott and Joe Mixon for this game. Receiving-wise, though, T. Higgins, 6 catches, 71 yards and a touchdown. That's the first time in a while we haven't seen Jamar Chase up there. And then Noah Brown having great games. He had a couple good games last year, I believe. He had 5 catches, 91 yards and a touchdown in this one. I mean, who else do they have, actually, now that I think about it? They have CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they had Dalton Schultz, and I think he got hurt, but they don't have Michael Gallup. They don't have Amari Cooper. So, yeah, interesting stuff there. Texans and Broncos. I mean, I don't know what the Broncos are going to do this year with paying Russell Wilson this much and only be winning by 7 against a bottom 5 team in the league. Russell Wilson leads the sloppy Broncos past the Texans by 7. Very slow start for them, but they won, so I guess a win is a win. You just got to do what you have to do. I mean, Davis Mills went 19 for 38. He had a 50% completion percentage, and that's the only thing I'm going to give to him on that side. Even Russell Wilson, 219 yards and a touchdown. Nothing else too impressive, though. Had a very bad completion percentage. I can kind of say about this game what I said about last game, although Javonte Williams on the Broncos had a pretty good rushing game. 15 carries, 75 yards. Damian Pierce or whatever was just out there to kind of get the grunge yards. Receiving-wise, Collins on the Texans, he had 4 catches for 58 yards, while Cortland Sutton having a fantastic game for the Broncos. 7 catches, 122 yards. So, yeah, some pretty impressive stuff there. We're going to move on to the Cardinals and the Raiders. This honestly seems like a rivalry. It seems like they win a lot of fucking games. Byron Murphy's 59-yard overtime fumble return and ends the Cards' win over the Las Vegas Rams. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, Cardinal season appeared to be falling apart before their eyes. I mean, they had some very tough starts to this game, but second half, Kyler Murray looked absolutely insane. The late game heroics, just fantastic game for him. He didn't throw for that much yards. I mean, he went 31 for 49 and had a touchdown, but I don't know. Derek Carr, on the other hand, I think he had a good game. He honestly might have had a better game than Kyler. I mean, Kyler had too slow of a start to really beat him in this aspect. 25 for 39, 252 yards and 2 touchdowns for Derek Carr. Who is the running back for the Darrell Williams? I mean, he had 8 carries, 59 yards and a touchdown, so give credit where it's due. And I mean, I think Josh Jacobs was just out there to be a power runner, so not much from him. Receiving wise, I mean, the only good game I saw was from Hollins of the Raiders. I mean, Devontae Adams was very quiet, so Hollins had to come out and have 5 catches for 66 yards. Zach Ertz played all right. I mean, he was the best receiver for the Cardinals, but did he really play that good? I don't know. Moving on to the Monday doubleheader, I was really excited going into this, and then I realized how garbage the games were. So, starting with the Bills and Titans, this was expected to be a garbage game. But the second one, we're going to get into that. Let's talk about Bills-Titans. Stephon Diggs scores 3 touchdowns for the Bills and a 34-point rout of the Titans. They won by 34. I mean, geez, man, primetime game, and you're just blowing a team out. Ryan Tannehill, I mean, he went 11 for 20, 117 yards, but that's about the end of it. Josh Allen on his MVP campaign, 26 for 38, 317 yards and 4 touchdowns. Nothing too impressive rushing-wise. I mean, Haskins was the leading rusher for the Titans over Derrick Henry, and I mean, James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, was just out there as a power rusher again. That's been happening a lot. I mean, for the Titans, Treylon Burks, receiving-wise, though, he had 4 catches for 47 yards, and Stephon Diggs having one of probably the best week receiving-wise out of anybody, 12 catches, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns. So Stephon Diggs is him. He is that guy. So if you have him on your fantasy team, congrats. But let's move into the last game of the week. We had the Vikings-Eagles. I saw this as what was going to be one of the best games of the week. Jalen Hurts, such a good quarterback. He's dominant in the 17-point win over the Vikings. I mean, this man Jalen Hurts, he is a beast. He is a legend in the making. I'm gonna say it right now. He's looking absolutely fantastic. I mean, Kirk Cousins, he went 27 for 46 and had a touchdown. That's about it. But let's talk about Jalen Hurts. He went 26 for 31, 333 yards, and a touchdown. He had a pick, but it is what it is. Funny enough, Dalvin Cook had such a bad game that Kirk Cousins had a very impressive rushing game. It looked impressive. 2 carries, 20 yards. Literally the best running back. That's how bad their offense was. And, I mean, Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 80 yards. He was more for, like, the power rusher again. Receiving-wise, Justin Jefferson did not get enough justice. I mean, his fantasy owners must be reeling right now. Adam Thielen, though, he came out 4 catches, 52 yards. And for the Eagles, I mean, Dallas Goedert had an amazing game, 5 catches, 82 yards. So that is going to wrap it up for this week. At least this was 5 minutes shorter than last week, so that's good. We're going to try to make it that way. I'm out.